when you lie down for a nap and you just can't fall asleep because your narcolepsy meds are a little too good at their job. My sleep doctor closed his practice, so I'm trying out a new doctor today, and I'm a little bit nervous because I've had doctors before that weren't that great. I've had doctors that were amazing, and you never know until you try. I'm really just looking for someone who will be on board with, being mindful of my psychotic disorder in treating my narcolepsy, because the stimulants tend to make that a lot worse. And the med I'm prescribed is relatively new, so I'm not sure if he's ever even used it before. I was the first patient my last doctor ever put on that medication, and so I was a little bit of a guinea pig, but it actually worked out really well, and it's been a game changer for me. I also know that when I go to the pharmacy, I'm the only person that's ever been prescribed it at that pharmacy, so I'm guessing it's relatively not common. But I am picking up some good vibes, so I'm pretty hopeful. This place is okay. I wouldn't mind doing a sleep study here. Not a lot going on, at least there's a TV. They always ask me if I'm on a CPAP, and that is the first question every time. I hear a lot of people with sleep apnea feel like they have narcolepsy until they get on a CPAP, so I kind of wish they had something like that for me. It'd be interesting to see if that worked. And I'm also really hoping they refill my meds today, even though I'm a new patient. We'll see. I could really use it because I'm almost out. Hopefully this one's the right fit. Well, the appointment went really well, and I don't have to have another sleep study, thank God, because I really didn't want to, and he put in a refill for my prescription without me even asking, so I think this is going to go very well. I have narcolepsy, and yesterday I met with my sleep doctor, and I happened to meet with him right during my nap time, so I missed my afternoon nap, and I have been totally paying for it today. Nap time is really important because for me to maintain stability in treating my narcolepsy, I have to have a very strict sleep schedule. I have a bedtime like a little kid. I have nap time like a little kid. And for a long time, I felt so embarrassed about that because people have a certain perception around sleep where if you have a disorder, it's not necessarily a chronic illness. Maybe you're lazy, or you have these unnecessary needs like naps that are luxuries to other people, and it's ill-perceived because a lot of people think, well, I'm tired every day, how is it any different for you? When people find out I have narcolepsy, I hear a lot of different things, and some of the more common things I hear are, oh, you're lucky you can sleep whenever you want, or I wish I could take a nap whenever I want, or, oh, I don't have time for a nap. I don't have time in my schedule for something like that, which kind of makes it out to be like, this is unnecessary and frivolous and not something a person should need. For me, naps are not fun, and I don't like sleeping. I actually really hate sleeping, and I never look forward to it, and I think maybe that's because I have to sleep more than the average person. I can't just sleep whenever I want. I have to have a scheduled time, and having that scheduled time to sleep helps me not to sleep whenever I don't want, like when I'm in public. So it's not as simple as just being tired. It's changing your entire lifestyle around sleep. What helped me feel less silly about needing naps was the language my doctor uses around it. Basically, he tells me, or my last doctor tells me, I am prescribed naps. And the new doctor calls them prophylactic. It is medical. So like I said, I don't enjoy it. It's my medicine. Once I thought of it that way, it was a lot easier to answer those statements of, oh, I wish I could nap whenever I want, and be able to say, well, actually, I'm prescribed naps. I don't want to nap, I have to. Because the difference between want to and have to is massive when you need something as childish as a nap. So because I missed my nap time yesterday, like I said, threw off my sleep schedule, and I actually slept until nap time today, so I won't be getting a nap, and Essentially, anytime I miss like a daily nap or my bedtime, I make up for it over the course of the next week, and my sleep schedule will take a long time to correct itself. So it's not something to be taken lightly. And, you know, for people like me with a sleep disorder, whether it's narcolepsy or insomnia or sleep apnea, you know how important your sleep health is, and you know that it carries into every aspect of your life. So missing your treatment of it can be devastating. What was my life like before I got diagnosed with narcolepsy? You know, I thought it was pretty normal, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with me, and I didn't think I was any different from anyone else. And I think that's because when you're dealing with like sleep as a disorder, everybody gets tired and nobody feels each other's tiredness. So how can you tell if that's not normal? Narcolepsy gets treated like a joke in the media. Let's be honest, it's used as a gag in a lot of comedic movies. If you've seen Deuce Bigelow, you know about falling asleep in soup. If you know about Rat Race, you know about this like highly energetic guy who will just randomly fall asleep when he feels incredibly overwhelmed by emotion. They kind of got that one almost right, but still like completely far off from the truth. You know, being highly energetic and falling asleep in soup are not typically what narcolepsy looks like. How was I supposed to know that I was more tired than the people around me when the depictions of the disorder I had were so wrong? You know, okay, I can't lie, I don't know when it came on. I can't remember having energy. I'm sure when I was a kid, there were times when I wasn't tired, but the memories of being tired go back pretty far. And when I was in elementary school, somewhere maybe mid to late elementary school, I think is when it started being noticeable. I was always tired, and I would just like rest my chin on my desk and I would look like this. People would always ask me like, why are you upset? I'd be like, I'm not, I'm just tired. I didn't realize that the face I make when I'm tired is kind of like looking like I'm upset, but it's really just me concentrating really, really hard on trying to stay awake. Up until the point that I had my first sleep study, I literally thought nothing was wrong. And looking back, it was so obvious. My parents picked up on it and they got me that appointment, and I was like, where is this coming from? You've got to be kidding me. Nothing is wrong. Why would you think I have a sleep disorder? I didn't even think the word narcolepsy went in. I didn't know what they were looking for. But you know what? I think I know exactly what did it. I think I know what tipped everyone off to my sleep disorder, and that was driver's ed. I got diagnosed when I was 15, and wouldn't you know, 15 was the age when I took driver's ed. I would go into class, and every single time we would watch like a freaking hour-long training video, and they would turn off the lights, and it was like 6 p.m., which is pretty late when you're that tired. And I would always fall asleep, and the instructor hated me. He was constantly telling me that I was lazy and I just couldn't stay awake. Like, why can't you stay awake? You know, like that's something I had any control over. I remember I took my exam in a quiet room alone because I fell asleep during the one with the rest of the class, and they had the heater on and there was soft music. I was out. I don't even know if I finished the exam. Miraculously, I did get a permit. I don't know how I learned anything, but I got a permit, and I started doing the behind the wheel lessons where you're in the car with an instructor and they're teaching you on the road how to drive. About 20 minutes into my first lesson, the instructor had me pull over, and she got in the driver's seat and drove me home. And she told my parents that because I couldn't stay awake while driving, I wasn't fit to drive. And I've never driven since. I never learned how to drive. I don't really mind though, because I like walking and I don't know what I'm missing. There were other signs, and now they're so obvious to me. Like whenever I'd come home from school, I would try to start doing my homework, and within the first hour of being home, I would be in bed, and I would sleep until the next morning, and I would get pissed at my mom because she didn't wake me up for dinner, and she'd say, I tried to wake you up and you swung at me in your sleep. So I don't even remember that. You know, the automatic behaviors, they are what they are, and I guess mine is punching in my sleep. So yeah, I I can look back now and be like, how did you not notice that no one around you was sleeping the way you were? And honestly, it's because I just thought everyone was better at it than me. Like, I thought everybody was just as tired as me, and they were just better at dealing with it. And I felt like a weakling. I was like, God, how do you guys do it? Why can't I do that? Jeez, it's like you're not even tired. Anyway, last thought. When I did go in for my diagnosis, I didn't have anything in mind. I had no expectations. I knew so little about sleep. I, maybe thought I've heard of insomnia. That was the extent of my knowledge. So I was in the parking lot. My mom pulled in and parked the car, and we were taking off our seatbelts. And I turned to her and I said, wouldn't it be funny if I had narcolepsy? And we had a great laugh over that. And like 15 minutes later, I got the news, you have narcolepsy. And I was dumbfounded. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I guess I didn't realize that a sleep disorder makes you tired. So that's what I found out. And, it took a long time to really accept, but I'm a lot better now. I'm stable. That's pretty cool. I take naps every day and I don't mind that so much as I used to. It's an adjustment. I had to change my whole lifestyle around it, but the diagnosis was what basically started me on the path of having like a productive life.